Hi everyone and welcome to Laterale YouTube channel. So I just wanted to give a bit of background and explain what we'll be covering on this channel. We will be doing picks and predictions for the top sports events in the world, including football. Also, we will be doing basketball, NBA and Euroleague. And we may add a few more events later on, like the NHL and other big American sports, as well as specific events like the Olympics, for example, or the World Cup. Now, to start with, we have an exciting game day in the Champions League. So we will be covering two matches from the Tuesday, 5th of March slate. Now, Bayern Munich will take on Lazio, and Real Sociedad is hosting Paris Saint-Germain. So to start off, we'll head to Munich, where Bayern are playing Lazio. So following a stroll through the group stages of the Champions League, where they finished top of the pile by 8 points, Bayern may have expected to make serene progress to the Champions League latter stages, but actually they suffered a serious and very unexpected setback at Stadio Olimpico in Rome, losing 1-0 in the first leg to Lazio. Lazio went ahead after Bayern's centre-back Dayot Upamecano got sent off, and Lazio captain Ciro Immobile took advantage of the penalty to give his team the lead. It was quite an interesting game, and both teams had a lot of attacks, but they rarely led to clear-cut opportunities. So in the end, Lazio won by a narrow margin, 1-0, and they did deserve to do so, having accumulated 1.83 xG, or expected goals. Now, for those of you who know, expected goals are quite a good metric to cover a team's performance. So the more XG a team has, the more goals it deserved to score, basically. So Lazio got 1.83 against Bayern's 1.09. So in the end, Lazio did deserve a narrow win. But as you may notice, actually, the scoreline should have been closer to 2-1 than 1-0. So we will look into this when we make our predictions for this game. Now, Thomas Tuchel's departure has already been announced, so Bayern's head coach will leave the club at the end of the season. Obviously, the Bayern fans are very disappointed in their main man because the results haven't been there lately. But actually, let's not forget his Champions League achievements. From taking PSG to the 2020 Champions League final to guiding Chelsea to their main prize 1 year after that. And even his successes with Bayern this season, to be honest, where they strolled past the group stages, picking up an impressive 16 out of possible 18 points. Bayern and Tuchel are so experienced when it comes to this Champions League tournament. And honestly, the results of the teams in the Champions League don't always reflect how they're doing over the course of the season overall. So actually, despite of all of Bayern's current struggles, under Tuchel's tutelage, he may be a good man for the job when it comes to success in the Champions League playoffs. He is an experienced manager, and with the weight off his shoulders a little now, the players may actually breathe a bit more and be more comfortable. They will gain a boost of confidence, and with a few key players coming back from injury as well, we may see a slightly rejuvenated Bayern squad. The home advantage in this sense will be crucial as well, and for this combination of factors may give Bayern a big psychological advantage ahead of the second leg. And even though Bayern have been very poor as of late, having lost 3 of their last 5 games with just 1 win and then 1 draw, obviously, and 3 losses, they have been quite consistent at home, having won 5 of their last 6 home games, or 13 of their last 15. Bayern scored at least 3 goals in over half of those games, so when the Bayern attack clicks and things go right for them at home, they do show great efficiency here, and they dominate games on their home turf. Lazio are obviously a worse team than Bayern. They have a much cheaper squad, and they don't have as much Champions League experience. However, many people are expecting them to do well following the first leg success, and given Bayern's woeful form. Having followed Lazio's recent games, as well as analyzing their away form this season, I just cannot expect them to put up a fight at the Allianz Arena. So let me explain why. Lazio did get handed quite an easy group stage draw because they got matched with Atletico Madrid, Feyenoord, and Celtic. All of those three teams being inferior, to be honest. So there's no top teams in that group. Atletico is not really a big team. I just cannot consider them one. And Feyenoord and Celtic obviously being from outside the top 5 leagues. Lazio managed to finish second in that group, which was to be expected, to be honest, only behind Atletico Madrid. However, their results away from home were not very impressive. So the Rome outfit lost to Feyenoord 3-1, where they were down 2-0 at halftime and 3-0 at the 74th minute. And that result could have been much worse, actually, because had Jimenez's early goal counted, the scoreline could have been a lot worse. Similarly, they got defeated 2-0 at the hands of Atletico Madrid, conceding first in the 6th minute and then in the 51st again. Once again, the opposition made quite quick work of Lazio, and actually a goal was disallowed in the first half again due to a close margin offside call. And had the referee counted Hermoso's goal in the 38th minute, Atletico may have run away with a blowout victory as well. So actually, the only game in which Lazio did manage to pick up points, it was their 2-1 away victory over Celtic. However, Celtic were one of the worst teams of that group stage campaign overall. The Scottish champions just did not have the experience and the guile to have what it takes to reach the playoffs. And Lazio did struggle in that game, actually, even against a worse outfit. They conceded first. Celtic also had a goal disallowed once again. And Lazio scored the winner at the very last gasp, literally at the 5th added minute. So I just cannot comfortably say that the Blues deserved to win that game, because Celtic outscored them in all departments. In shots, it was 11-8 to Celtic. Shots on target as well, 5-3. Corner ticks, 4-3. And XG, once again, Celtic had 0.99 expected goals to Lazio's 0.89. So really, it was a very equal game in which Celtic was narrowly the better side, not Lazio, like the final scoreline may suggest. So as of recently, Lazio's away games have gotten even worse. They lost 3 of their last 5 away, or 7 of their last 12, and that's despite having played quite a few mid-table to outsider teams over that period of time. They only narrowly lost out in their last away game to Fiorentina. It was 1-2. However, if you watch that game, you would know that Fiorentina cruised to victory and they deserved to win by more, having gained 2.82 XG against Lazio's 0.32. So really, it should have been something like 3-0 instead of 1-2. Now, Fiorentina won 22-5 in shots, 7-1 in shots on target, and 13-2 on corners taken. In fact, this trend follows all of Lazio's recent away games, as they picked up less shots and fewer expected goals than their opposition in all of the last 6 away fixtures, even in the 2 that they did win. Now, finally, a big argument could be made about Lazio's current psychological form, because they did lose 1-0 to AC Milan in their most recent game, and that came at home. So losing to a bitter rival at home, having not scored in that game, it is a big blow. So, Lazio may not be the best right now in terms of psychology, and, they may be having some issues in the dressing room as well. And in that game, 3 of the Lazio players got sent off, actually. So we can see that there's some hot heads, and this may be showing in the next game as well. So I would say that a safe prediction for this game would be Bayern to win and for 3 goals or more to be scored in that game. So Bayern to win plus over 2.5 goals. And the odds for this are 1.8. So I think this is a pretty safe pick because Bayern are really strong at home. And actually, they have most of their attacking talent on display. The only player that is out is Serge Gnabry, but he really hasn't been crucial to their attack this season. And then for a high-risk pick, I could pick the home team to win plus both teams to score. And the odds for that are 3-1, so 3.02. You could find really good value in this if you want to take a risk, because I think Lazio do get their goal in this game one way or another, because they have scored in 7 of their last 8 away fixtures, and also in 6 of their 7 Champions League games this season overall. They have their full attacking lineup available and ready to start, some of whom are fresh as well, and they're in a comfortable position because they're the team that is leading, and Bayern need to attack with force, and they will open up. So Lazio can counter-attack or find a set-piece goal or something. And I think they can take advantage of Bayern's lack of defensive stability or discipline. Also, Bayern are set to be without a starting centre-back in Dayot Upamecano, and without any real right-backs. So Kimmich has been playing at right-back, deputizing there as of late, but he is a defensive midfielder by trade. So Bayern's defensive instabilities could show in this game. They may want to take a few more risks playing at home, and obviously they do need to get back into the game. So I can see this one being quite end-to-end. Bayern will dominate, but they might concede in the process. And this will be crucial because Lazio have a very fast and dangerous attacker in Zaccagni on the left flank. And actually, Bayern not having a proper right back may hurt them against Zaccagni, who can take advantage of the lack of chemistry among Bayern's backline. Now, for a statistical pick in this game, I will pick a corner handicap in favor of Bayern at minus 3.5 corners. So what this means is that Bayern will win by a difference of 4 corners or more. And the odds for this are 1.84. Now, I think this is a very safe pick because in the group stages, Bayern won on corners in all of their 6 games. Taking their home games specifically, they beat United 7-3, Galatasaray 7-1, and Copenhagen 4-2. Now, in the Bundesliga, on average, Bayern take 7.54 corners per game, and they only let their opponents pick up a meager 2.46. So actually, they win by about 5 corners a game, even slightly more. At home, they're even better, 8.08 to 2.33. So a difference of more than 5.5 corners per game. So Bayern are very different to Lazio in this regard. They're so dominant that they excel at both ends of the field in terms of corners, while the gulping quality between the two sides, combined with Bayern's urgent need to get back into this game, will result in them taking a lot more corners than their opposition. Now, Lazio in their last away games lost on corners consistently. They lost 2-13 to Fiorentina, 4-7 to Torino. They only beat Cagliari 8-7, and then they lost 1-6 to Atalanta and 0-7 to Inter Milan. So actually, we also see a trend where the stronger the opposition is, the more corners Lazio lose by. So this could be a very safe pick because we know the difference in quality between Lazio and Bayern. Also, just to finish up, Lazio did lose all 3 group stage games in the Champions League in terms of corners, and that's even though, as I said previously, the opponents in the group stages were really not that strong for Lazio. So that's my picks and analysis for the first game. So I do think Bayern will advance. I think they win, and we see a lot of goals in that game. I can predict something like a 3-1 scoreline. That's probably the most likely outcome. A 3-1 or a 3-2 could be on the cards. And I can see Bayern taking a lot of corners in the process. I think they dominate this game, and Lazio really don't have much to show for. Now, moving on to the second game, we have Real Sociedad taking on PSG. Now, this one will be nice and short because I think there's just a lot less to say about this game. PSG strolled to victory in the first game. They won 2-0, and Mbappe was really good in that game. So I don't see much changing here. I just don't see Sociedad getting back into the game because I think it's a big advantage. So my main pick would be both teams to score plus under 5.5 goals. And the odds for this are 2.18, really nice odds. I think you find great value in this because, well, let's just go point by point. I will start with the total goals. I think it will be under 5.5 because, well, 6 goals is very unrealistic. Obviously, we saw 2 or fewer goals in all Champions League first leg games but one, and that one was City Copenhagen, where we saw the biggest gulp in quality between the two sides probably ever in the Champions League playoffs. So the Champions League playoff games have been quite consistent in terms of hitting the under. And yeah, I mean, Sociedad do need to get back in to the game, having lost 2-0 in the first leg, but they are missing a few key players. For example, the bright attacker Bayern, and they did fail to score actually in 6 of their last 9 games. So their attack has been quite poor lately. And consequently, they've only won one of those 9 games, and they only scored twice or more in just one of them. And that was against Sevilla, who have been really poor this season. So Sociedad is not in good form. Their attack has been failing them lately. So I just don't see too many goals being scored in this game. And PSG, even though they have Mbappe and they can score a lot of goals, they really don't need to. They will not be playing in dominant fashion in this game. They might get 1 or 2 goals on the counter attack or something like that, but they really don't need to stress that too much. They need to be nice and disciplined and not let Sociedad create too much. So because of that, I just don't expect many goals to be scored in this game. However, I do think that both teams will score, and my reasoning for this is that on Sociedad's side, since the PSG game, they've increased their tempo just a little, and we have seen a lot more goals in their games. So we've seen them score a couple against Mallorca. That was 2-1. Then they lost 1-3 to Villarreal. There was another 1-1 with Mallorca in the cup, and then the 3-2 game against Villarreal again. So both teams have scored in the last 4 fixtures. And then in the UCL group stages, actually, let's not forget that they were quite strong at home. They picked up 5 points from a possible 9, with draws against Salzburg 0-0 and Inter 1-1, and then they beat Benfica 3-1. But actually what I wanted to point out is that they created quite a lot of opportunities at home actually. So they picked up 1.35 xG against Salzburg, 1.31 against Inter, and a whooping 3.5 against Benfica. So they did create a lot at home, and they can be strong in front of their own crowds. So I think they get at least 1 goal here to try get back into the game. And also PSG are missing a few key personnel in defense. So Kimpembe, Kurzawa, Marquinhos, goalkeeper Rico, and then centre-back Skriniar and Pereira. Now, not all of those players have been key players this season, but they are missing 4 big names in defense and a couple more reserves. So it will hurt them in one way or another. However, PSG have been really, really good from away from home this season. They've actually gone 10 games now without losing away, picking up 7 wins and getting 3 draws in that course. And they have amassed 26 goals over that time frame. So really impressive away from home. And they've been just playing comfortably away from home under Luis Enrique this season, and I don't see that changing. So actually looking back at the UCL group stages, because obviously it's very useful to look at this tournament in specific. They drew to Borussia away from home 1-1, and then they lost to Milan 1-2, and they lost to Newcastle 1-4. So there was plenty of goals in those games. Both teams scored in all of PSG's away games in the Champions League, and they were all, more importantly, end-to-end fixtures. So all of those teams got at least 1 XG. So actually all 6 times they deserved to score. There was a lot of shots taken in all of those games. They were all high-tempo end-to-end fixtures. So in total, the 3 away games that PSG played in the Champions League group stages contained 8.5 XG, which is quite a lot. So my main pick, will be both to score, but under 5.5 goals, because I think the teams have what it takes. Sociedad will try get back in, and the home crowd will help them do so. But PSG are very comfortable in that underdog position because Mbappe can use his pace to counterattack, and they'll get a goal or two that way as well. Now, in terms of statistical pick, nothing really springs to mind. I could potentially get behind under yellow cards. I'm not sure what the line is set to, but I just don't see much intrigue in this game. PSG won 2-0, and they're the better side, and I don't see that changing. Also, neither of the two teams plays extremely aggressively. They're more moderate in that regard. They're nice and disciplined, and both of them are more about control of the game. So those sort of teams rarely make, that kind of bloodbath type of performance when you see lots of yellow, red cards in the Champions League. The only scenario in which this could happen is if Sociedad get a goal back and, for example, it's very close at the end of the game. So look out for that. I can also get behind PSG +3 corner handicap. What I don't like is that the odds are only 1.6 or even a bit less on certain bookies. So it's more of a safe pick, maybe something for your accumulator because the odds are quite low. But I wouldn't take a higher handicap to try to increase the odds because simply Sociedad can win by a couple of corners, right? But for this bet to lose, they would need to win by 4, and that's just really unlikely. So I just see it as a very safe bet. The reason for this pick is that Sociedad is not a team that uses corners as a focal point in creating their chances or scoring their goals. So actually in the UCL playoff second leg, we need to think of which team needs what, right? So Sociedad needs to get back into the game, they need to attack and play their best football to do so. So this is a team that has a very distinct playing style, right? And they will try to impose their own playing style and their own brand of football to win the game at home. The home crowd will help them do so, but their style doesn't involve taking a lot of corners. So actually, they don't use their flanks too much in attack. They attack centrally. They get stuck in midfield as well. So they have a lot of possession usually, but they don't convert that into too many clear-cut opportunities. There just wouldn't be too many dangerous opportunities for them to take corners. Now, Sociedad takes just 4.96 corners per La Liga game, and that's in the league where they play a lot of lower-level teams. In the Champions League, that stat is even less. Now, even at home games, their numbers don't really move much. So they take 5.05 corners at home, but they also concede a bit more. So they actually concede 4.1. So Sociedad is not a very dominant team in terms of corners, and PSG on the other side are obviously no walkover. They will make it difficult for Sociedad to dominate the game because they know that they need to stop the opposition in doing so. Now, PSG under Luis Enrique, we know them to be quite a dominant team because the Spaniard is a manager who loves control, possession, and dominance, right? So they had more corners in the first game, beating Sociedad 9-7, and they had more possession as well. So they possessed about 60% of the game. And that was in the first leg. And obviously that was in Paris at home, but they will try to maintain this in the reverse leg because they know that if they let Sociedad control the game, then they're in for a difficult game essentially. So even if they don't control the games, to be honest, Sociedad are just unlikely to create enough from their flanks to have situations where they can take a lot of corners, right? Because they just attack from the central positions and they don't go wide very much. Whereas PSG actually will counterattack dangerously a lot and they can get quite a few corners from that, I reckon. So yeah, that's my picks for today's games and that's my thorough analysis. I think, to be honest, I think Bayern Munich go through quite easily. They may get an early goal and it may end like 3-1 or 4-2, something like this. And then I think that Sociedad against PSG will probably be a reasonably high-scoring draw, like a 1-1 or a 2-2. Or maybe one of the teams may win by a narrow margin, like 2-1. So I see both scoring and under 5.5 goals in that game. So thank you for listening, and subscribe to the channel for more predictions.